الحمد لله رب العالمين نستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به عز وجل أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. The praise is for Allah. We praise Allah, God. Allah is Arabic for God. Other names for Allah or God, the Creator, Al-Khaliq of kulli shay, of everything. Allah doesn't belong to the Muslims. Allah is God of humanity. It's important. And we witness that one God. The one who has made everything and the one who has made everyone. And the one who has said if he wanted us all to be the same, he could have made us all the same. And we witness that God. We believe in that God. Who values difference. But difference in unity. So we witness Allah alone without any partners. And we witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, born of human beings, born of a mother and a father, Amina and Abdullah, who was orphaned at a young age, who earned the nickname Al-Amin as a young man. Al-Amin means the trusted, one who we can trust with our material things. People used to lead on journeys, their important things, valuable things. They didn't have safe boxes, those kind of things. And they believed in the Prophet. They trusted in his things. But we know that people trusted the Prophet with their life. They trusted the Prophet with their feelings, their hearts. And it is that Muhammad that we witness and that we follow as a servant, as a servant. This language during the time of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was also used to refer to slaves, people who were in servitude. And the wonderful thing of God referring to Muhammad, not only once but numerous times, as servant, as abd, was a kind of equalizer in society. That all of us are slaves. That all of us are servants of God. So those who might have been the slave masters at that time, Allah calls all of them abd, servant. So abd and Rasul, he's a messenger. He has a message for us, for humanity. We witness these things. I'm saying this because we often will say the Shahada or the Shahadatain and really not give much thought to what we're actually saying, what it means to witness that there is a God, and to witness that Muhammad is a servant and a messenger of God. What does that mean? And when we have some sense of that, we go to Allah in our our time of need, our time of help, and our time of needing some assistance. And we put our faith and our trust in that God. I want to just share the story, speak to Bilal. We heard Yusuf made such a beautiful adhan. You know, we all just listen to the adhan. And again, I want to encourage us to think, what not just hear, but to ponder, to think, what does that mean? What is he saying? Right? What are we hearing? And how is this adhan and the shahada impact our lives and shape who we are? I'm saying these things so that we begin to see ritual and see things that perhaps even like the Jummah day that we do, it becomes sort of habitual without any meaning, without any thought given to it. I'm a convert to Islam. So I didn't inherit meaning. I didn't inherit a family of Muslims. I didn't inherit Islam. I didn't inherit the Quran, all of these things. And it's my human inheritance, but I didn't culturally. I didn't have that in my life. So I had to think about Islam. I had to think about what I was saying. I had to think about what I was doing. I had to make meaning out of all of this. And I'm encouraging all of us to do that so that Islam can begin to feel more meaningful in our lives. And I want to share a story of Bilal, the companion of Bilal. Most of us, the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And most of us, when we think of Bilal, we just think he's the African slave, the Ethiopian slave who was the mu'adhin. He was more than that. He was more than that. When I became a Muslim, almost 30 years ago, I was 19 years old. And one of the very first things that people asked me was, do you know Bilal? Now, you know why they're asking me that, right? Do you know Bilal? They're looking at me. Do you know Bilal? No, I don't know who's Bilal. I'm just learning about Abu Bakr and Ali. And I'm saying this to you because I want you to think about what they've asked me. Do you know Bilal? And if I was a new Muslim, so I was very humble. I don't know. But maybe now I would retort back, do you know Bilal? Do you? Now I'm asking us, as a community, as a congregation, know Bilal? So Bilal, and there are different stories, different ways of kind of characterizing him. But he was Ethiopian. Some say that his father perhaps was Arab, his mother was from Ethiopia. Some say perhaps she was a princess who was captured during the year of the elephant, when our Prophet ﷺ was born. And army king from Yemen had marched up to destroy the Kaaba. He was an Ethiopian who had been kind of allied with others. And that in that time, his mother, Bilal's mother, was captured. And that Bilal was born into slavery. He was a slave. He was a servant in Mecca. So right away we're starting with a slave, a servant, someone who is oppressed, someone who doesn't have access to the social realities. And we tend to start at his story when Umayyah, his slave master, had learned that Bilal had heard the message of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. His message that there's one God And Muhammad is his messenger. And he embraced that. And the way that he expressed that caused his slave master to treat him cruel and put him in the hot sun in the desert and boulders on top of him and try to force him to renounce his belief in Allah and the Prophet. He was persecuted. Now, this is not, again, unique to Muslims. Christians before were persecuted. We read this in the Quran. Others were persecuted. So persecution also is this we've been talking about, hijrah and migration. All these things that I'm talking about are not specific to us, yet they have some particular meaning. They're universal. And so he didn't renounce his belief. Instead, he became more fervent, more enthusiastic about his belief. And the way that he would express that was simply ahad. 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 Some of us, we want a wird. You know, wird is some kind of ritual, some practice of dhikr. Huh? I would suggest that we all adopt the wird of Bilal. Ahad. Ahad. Just say it 100 times a day. See what it does to your heart. Some of us, we have to start out slow with it, you know. You can't just jump right into it. Some of us take our time, move into it. But start there. And where does our life start? Where does the journey start? With that acknowledgement of one, that there is one. And this ahad is not like wahid. It's not the number one. It gives some sense that there's one, but it's really unity. There's this oneness, not only of God, but if God has created everything, al-khaliqu kulli shay, then everything is one. Everything is connected. All of us are connected. So Bilal wasn't just acknowledging that there's one God, he's acknowledging that we're one. That the system that God has created is one. But within that oneness, within that unity, is tremendous diversity. Now, if we would just understand that God is the creator of all of us, then all these issues around race might be seen in a different way. That we can have diversity, yet we're all one. What is that oneness? It's not my color, it's not my body, it's my human nature, my human soul. So, as he's being persecuted, Abu Bakr, one of the companions, comes upon this, and to save some time, he frees him. He pays what will free him. Because you have to give some money to free the slave. And he then went and became a companion of the Prophet ﷺ, close companion. Not on the fringes, not on the edge. He was close. He was in his home, serving him, serving his family. Bilal. He eventually became the treasurer. He became the treasurer. I'm saying that. He was more than just a singer. He was more than just someone who had a nice voice. He was more than that. I'm using this language intentionally. He was an advisor to the Prophet. He fought in war, in battles. So he was not just the mu'adhin. Bilal. He brought more to the space than his color and his voice. We know that we've been talking about the migration, and not only did we go to Medina as a community, we went first to Ethiopia, to that kingdom where we were given to asylum. And I mentioned the Muhajir and the Ansar because I want us to not forget that all of us are Muhajir, right? We all are traveling. We're all journeying, right? We're all moving from one place to the next. That's the reality of human life. We're moving, right? We don't stay still. We might stay still physically. Huh? We might stay in a particular city. But we're constantly moving inside. We're constantly journeying inside. We're constantly migrating. That there's some inner landscape that we're trekking on. In the Prophet ﷺ, he said, a Muslim is one who other Muslims are safe from his tongue and his hands. A Muslim is one who other Muslims are safe from their tongue and their hands. And an immigrant is one who gives up all that Allah has forbidden. So we're all immigrants. We're all trying to give up what Allah has forbidden, right? We're all moving and journeying back to God. And in that journey, we are migrants. We are immigrants. And we need help. We don't refer to the people in Ethiopia as the Ansar, right? But they were Ansar, right? They were Christian. And the same word for Christians, Ansar. The same word. So we are all immigrants and we all need our Ansar. Now I want to say this, we are all Ansars, we are all helpers to those who are immigrants. And I'm not just talking physically, I'm talking about the inside. And we're all helping each other and we're all journeying. There's a movement in the soul. There's a hijrah of the heart. But it's a journey. So I ask again, do you know Bilal? What does Bilal mean for you? What does he represent for all of us? So our life starts with Qul huwallahu ahad. Say Allah is one. That's a command. Say Allah is one. Qul huwallahu ahad. He is one. That's where my journey started. Recognizing that God is one. He has no partners. And that's where we, even in our own, even if I've been a Muslim for 19 years or 20 years, it should start there. To start pondering, thinking about God as one and what that means. Not only for your faith life, but for your whole life. It doesn't just have a theological meaning, it has a broader meaning. Not just religious or theological. It's too simple. Now, you've been a Muslim for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years to just say that it just means God is one. We learned that in the weekend school. That God is one. Well, now you've been Muslim 30 years. What does that mean to you? Doesn't just mean that God, you could say, you learned that when you're an elementary student. It's not just a number, it means something more. It has deeper meaning for us. So some of the companions, there was a companion, every time he would recite Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, and some of them was, why does he always recite this simple surah? Why doesn't he recite the Baqarah? Why didn't he? You know how some of us are, right? Why isn't he reciting more? When most of us, we recite and we don't even know what we're saying. It's not even our language. And the Prophet responded to them saying, because it's 1/3 of the Quran. important in our religion. Not just going through the motions and having some kind of ritual sense of what it means to be a Muslim, but rather have meaning. And that takes time. That's a journey. You don't arrive at that quickly, right? I've said this before. It's not about being, but becoming. Not about being a Muslim, whatever that is and whatever that looks like. I don't know what that is and what that looks like. It looks very different every time I see a Muslim. But we're becoming. We're growing into that. We're moving toward God and leaving over time what He has asked us to leave on. I'm saying that to us because we're on a journey here. We've been talking of Medina and community. And one of the things that happened once the mosque was established, maybe a year or so into being into Medina, the companions said, Ya Rasulullah, we need some way to call the people to congregational prayer. And there's different stories on how this kind of came about. But I'll try to give something that we all can kind of share and think about. So they were all considering, well, how do we do this? And the story says some companions, they said, why don't we use a horn or something like a horn or maybe a ram's, like the Jewish community, right? Some horn, right? Something to call, to blow, tell the people it's time for prayer. Another said, why don't we use a bell? Like the Christians, they use a bell. I think one version of the stories, because we need to get the Persians in there, right? To assassinate it, but they light a fire. When they light a fire, it's time. And then they looked at Bilal and they said, why don't we use the human voice? The human voice. Well, we know the Prophet was inspired to direct this. Why don't we use the human voice? It's wonderful. Human being to call out. And then they asked Bilal, maybe because he did have a nice voice, huh? Maybe he did a good singer or something. We know he liked to dance because we read that when the people came back from Medina, they migrated from Ethiopia to Medina, right? They came and the Ethiopians joined and they were dancing. Huh? They were dancing. They were doing their cultural. Huh? You all have your cultural dances at home, right? In your countries, you have them. So dancing is allowed in Islam. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. Now, how we dance might be a different conversation. But dancing is okay. Singing is okay. Music and drums are okay. Cultural life is okay. We're human beings. In fact, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she heard they were here, they were dancing, and she said, I want to go see them. I want to go see them. I want to listen to them and to watch them. Maybe I can learn something, be inspired. The Prophet took her, and they watched until she was ready to go. We read, the Prophet, are you ready? No, I'm not ready. I'm still one, right? You all know this. I'm not telling you if you don't know. I read the same books you do. Until she said, okay, I'm ready. I've got my feel. I see. And they, so we have to have cultural expression in our community. That's what I'm saying. It's okay. And we should dance as a community. Not just sit tea. Not just do koali. We should dance. That might get Imam Khalil in trouble with a few people. It's okay. I stand on the Prophet. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, we don't read the Prophet dance, but with Aisha, maybe. We great that he raced it. He had some fun with her, right? So the prophet asked Bilal to call the event. And I think that's powerful. Because when he called the event, people heard the words. And next week, inshallah, we'll talk about the event, what it actually means. Let's offer some thoughtfulness about its meaning. If you all could please come in, the brothers can move up, and those who are outside, if you don't mind coming in, inshallah. The Quran tells us that we should make room in our assemblies, right? That we should make room. There's always enough, you know? So we should try to squeeze in as best we can. I'm looking at the time. So let me say this, and one of the reasons I believe that the Prophet ﷺ asked Bilal to call the adhan was because he was trying to say something to his companions. He wasn't the best in Arabic. He wasn't the pure Arab. He was a slave. He didn't come from a high class. He didn't have money. He was considered by most people less than. And something like the adhan, the Prophet makes a decision, conscious and deliberate decision, to put him there, to call us back to God, to call us to our human dignity, to call us to establishing our life. That person was the one who did that. He didn't raise his hand to do it. The Prophet asked him to do it. And even some of the companions would be saying, yeah, Bilal should do it. But there were others that when he called the adhan, we read that they complained to the Prophet. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, when Bilal calls the adhan, his sword sounds like a seam. And some reports say his sword sounded like a sheen. And I thought today I would maybe call this, when we talked about being heard and being seen, I thought that would make sense. So his sword sounded like a seam. And the Prophet's response to them was, to God, Bilal's seam is a sword. So we're on this journey. We have to move past so much that gets in our way of seeing each other's hearts and not outside. Seeing each other's hearts and not how much knowledge we have. Seeing each other's hearts and not how much I know, how Muslim I look, but to look at the heart, and particularly among those who are the least of us, those who are in the minority of us. Are we raising them up? Are we acknowledging their voices? Are we seeing each other in this space? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. I'm going to take just a few more minutes. I know it's almost time. I'm going to take a few more minutes. I just want to say, sharing this, I think I might have told Yusuf someone. When I think of Bilal, I think of how the Prophet took him and raised him, elevated him among the companions. He elevated, Allah raised Bilal. Allah put him in stature that way. Not only did he call it a man in Medina, when they went back to Mecca, the Prophet asked him to go on top of the Kaaba and call to them, to call us back to our God, and to Muhammad, and to our dignity, a human life and our human dignity. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember the Olympics in 1996, Muhammad Ali in Atlanta torch. And I remember one of my teachers saying to me, only God can take a man from clay to Muhammad. His name was Cassius Clay. To raise him. That's like calling me a man. Like the Olympics is like about the humanity, and our humanity. And it was like he was Bilal in that moment, Muhammad. Now I'm going to say this. I'm going to not share what I wanted to say about something else, but I'll end here. Most of us, and I'm going to say this about Muhammad Ali and Malcolm too. Unfortunately, that tends to be the extent of what we know about black Muslims in America. Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. And I want to encourage this community, because I'm in this position, and I'm standing in here in front of you, that we have to do better. We have to develop not only a relationship, but a meaningful understanding of the life of black Muslims in America. If we want to establish our life here, whether it's in the university space or in the mosque, if you are disconnected from black people, what are you doing as a Muslim? You just want to pray? You just want to do dhikr? You don't want to fight for what's right in society? Justice? Huh? The Prophet is telling us, he's showing us, who do we center? Who do we put voice to hear, to speak? Those who've been oppressed. So some of us, we're muhajjirs, we come here. Who's the Ansar here? Who can help us understand what Islam should look like and feel like in this space? Not just black Muslims, but black Muslims should be in that conversation. When we have the Malcolm X lecture series, none of us are there. Why? When we have a W.D. Muhammad lecture series, none of us are there. Why? Because we don't know the story. We don't know the narrative. We don't know the history. And I know this doesn't feel like the spiritual, right? But this has to be said, because no one will say it unless I say it. Each one of you who's studying engineering and medicine and all of these things, you must take a class on African American history, African American studies. We can talk after Jummah, why? But there's a sensibility in this space that we have to cultivate in ourselves. So that we can really begin to understand what Islam should look and feel like in this space. We have something to share. Who are the Bilals in your life? And I'm just saying, black people, who are the Bilals in your life? Someone, we had a conversation on Monday in the chaplain cares. And I've been telling my conversion story. I've been telling my story, how I converted, how I became a Muslim. Right? And it dawned on me all of a sudden, well, let me ask you, when did you convert to Islam? Everyone wants to know Imam Khalil's story. And I want to know your story. When did you realize that there's only one God and Muhammad is his messenger? Or have you? Have you just been just kind of whatever mom and dad said? Whatever I grew up knowing and learning? When did you accept Allah as God? When did you accept Muhammad as the messenger? When did you convert? Or have you converted? So I'm saying it because I want us to begin to think about why we're Muslim. Not just, I am a Muslim. Why are you Muslim? And if you know why you're Muslim, then we'll know what to do as a Muslim. So I have a book, Bilal. There's many of them. You should get it and read it. So much to say. I want us to, I often think, why does Sohaib ask me? Why? Just because I'm a nice guy? We're good friends? No, because I know he was caring so much about this community. He loved this community so much. He established a W.D. Muhammad lecture series about black Muslims, a South Asian kid from the Midwest, raised by Muslim parents. Malcolm X series. He established that. Not a black man, not a black chaplain. He did that. Why? Because he wanted better for us. He wanted us to know something, to learn something, to humble ourselves. I'll put it that way. To humble ourselves. It's about the heart. It's not about how much you have on your tongue, how beautiful your recitation is, what you know, what you don't know, how all these things. It's what's in your heart. And that's what this community is about. That's what Sohaib wanted for us. Where we don't look at each other's bodies so much, but we look at each other's hearts. And we see each other for who we really are. Not from where we're from, how many PhDs, and what all that stuff is nothing. The most important thing is that we see each other for our humanity. And that we love each other for our humanity. We're all Bilal. We're all Bilal. What journey are you on? When have you accepted and embraced Islam? What's your conversion story? Alhamdulillah. We praise Allah. We thank Allah. And this is excitement. This isn't anger. It's excitement. I love you all. But this means so much to me. You all don't know. Look at me and look at you. It's very unique. Very special circumstance we have here. And I want to share so much. God knows. Alhamdulillah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة
حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله
الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله. Assalamu'alaykum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu'alaykum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu'alaykum. We would like to invite Aysenur Guc to bless us with dua. Thank you for your patience with me.
Assalamu'alaikum. Ya Rab, O Sustainer, you are the most merciful, you are the most compassionate, you are the guide, the one who responds to all calls, the Absolute. O Eternal One, accept our thanks, gratitude, and praise. O Ever-Present One, it is you, and only you, who is and must be the source of all existence, all beauty, all truth, the source of all guidance and understanding. Ya Rab, allow us to witness your ahadiyah, your oneness in our lives. O Creator, O Renewer of all creation, forgive our forgetfulness of you, forgive our forgetfulness of your signs, forgive the words we speak without remembrance of you, forgive the acts we engage in without thought of you. And grant your peace and blessings upon our teacher Muhammad. Help us witness, confirm, and live his message. Ya Rab, relieve us of our anxieties and sorrows. Make them seeds that flower into fruits of relief. O Healer, grant us healing. Heal the doubts in our minds, the achings of our hearts, the sicknesses of our souls. Grant our bodies and spirits ease and wellness. Allow us to see our afflictions as beacons of mercy, that our calamities become our cures. O Eternal One, you are the Eternal One. Let us love and give and receive in your name. In consciousness of you, let us read this universe, our given existence, as a love letter from you. O Discloser of all affairs, O Illuminator of light, grant your mercy and light upon our dear Imam Khalil, and to all of our teachers, living and departed. Elevate their ranks and reward them for their service to the Quran, to your truth. O Turner of hearts, make our hearts firm upon your path, make our hearts firm upon the path to you. And may you send blessings upon Muhammad and his household. And may you send blessings and peace upon the messenger of your word. Grant us the strength and will and courage to call upon you at all places and times. Let our prayers act as our remedies. Allow us to be conscious recipients of your sustenance, conscious recipients of your guidance, conscious recipients of your mercy. And glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save that